It's an incredible story. I mean, it's a fictional story based on two very real people, the Queen Mother and her loyal servant, Billy Tallon, who was affectionately known as Backstairs Billy and worked for the Queen and with the Queen Mother for almost 50 years. And this just drops into their fictional life in 1979, where some quite very poignant things happen.
This is a play by a young man called Marcelo Dos Santos, and he has written a remarkable play because it goes from being hilariously sort of high farce to being very, very touching.
I knew that if I wanted to come back to the West End or anywhere on stage, I wanted to come back with somebody very, very experienced who could really guide me and help me, and Michael is that person for me.
When I was a young director, I was invited to a reception where Queen Mother hosted with Billy. So I met both of them in person in 1996. And that was I can't say that on that occasion I thought there's a play here, but it stayed with me for a very long time. And I met him a couple of times subsequently. And I thought, it is an extraordinary story, and it would be great if we could make a play out of it. So it was just one of those things that sort of stayed with me for a very, very long time, and finally it came to something.
I met Michael through the MGCfutures Bursary. I applied, I can't even remember when, I think 2019, and I met Nick, and who's the producer, and also Michael, and they were just really great at keeping in touch, really, and keeping across all the work that I was doing. I'd invite them, and they were very nice and actually came, which is quite rare. And at a certain point, after they'd read the other play that I have, which is Going On in the Bush, they were interested in talking more about ideas, and from that, we started talking about Backstairs Billy and William Tallon, who Michael had met, and we thought it was just such an unlikely friendship between Billy and the Queen Mother, and that it also opened up other bigger questions which were actually quite dramatic and full of kind of pathos and bigger questions as well.
It's also, it's a period piece in a way. This is a 44-year-old story. We're basing it in 1979. Life was very different then. And that, so as much as it's an enjoyable story, it's also a commentary on society and culture back in the late 70s when the UK was going through lots of changes, but Clarence House was staying exactly the same as it always had been.
There's a constant fascination for the royal family. The Crown has proved that, as has every time there's a play in the West End that deals with it. It seems to have that kind of attention. So I guess it's just they will always be there because they're not quite us.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, particularly if what we see in the play is anything to go by, it seems like a very interesting place. We definitely see the weirder sides of it in the play, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very interesting thing. They get up to a lot of stuff.
Just the mysticism behind them, and also with the Queen Mother, there's so much interest in her, going right back to the war when she refused to dress down when she'd go and see people who had been bombed out, and someone said, "Why did you come in your best clothes?" And she said, "They expect it of me. They need a little colour in their lives."
From what I've read in Hugo Vickers' biography of the Queen Mother, I wanted to bring her into Technicolor, and she was much wittier and much sharper and knew what was going on than people thought, because she always appeared to be in pale chiffon and smiling and being very nice. But actually she was much more fun than that, and also clever. She was a clever woman. She would have had to have been, because she went through 2 world wars, one as a young girl and then the next one when she was the Queen. And she went through very, very difficult times, and she managed them. And Hitler did call her the most dangerous woman in Europe because she stayed, and she was a morale booster during the war. So I hope we've given her another dimension, really.
I just think it is still a little bit of glamour, and.
Yeah, no, completely. It is the glamour.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy talks about it, how, that was where, in the 50s, that was where there was the faintest touch of glamour.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly fascinated, and pertaining to my character, certainly fascinated with what goes on with the people at lower level. I mean, the kind of the strictness of what they have to do and how you manage to do that day in, day out is fascinating.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's the fascination for me is actually the sort of the dynamic between the royals and the servants, and then the sort of the palace staff. You know, for instance, I play the private secretary to the Queen Mother, and just the dynamic between those people and the sort of the weird hierarchy that's at work is sort of really fascinating, I think.
I wouldn't say that I'm a personal fan of of the royals or all the scandals, but I do think as characters, they're an interesting microcosm to interrogate, and it's what's made this brilliant play.
Yeah, the corgis have kind of taken care of themselves, and they're a bit more of a diva sometimes, the corgis, but they're gorgeous as.
This is the first time I've worked with corgis, and I would highly recommend.
I'm only ever going to work with corgis.
Yeah, from now on.
That's
going
to be in my contract,
yeah.
I think.
They've been the people I've got on with the most, to be honest. They're great.
Yes, I mean, working with everyone really. Working with Michael in the first place is an honour, and he has so much experience and so much kind of. He's just so incredibly decisive and clear when he's working with people, and that's wonderful to be around. And then Penelope came on board, which just seemed just to make so much sense, and then Luke likewise was just perfect casting, and. Yes, so having that team and then it growing and growing, it's just hugely exciting. And it's kind of the stuff we dream about when we are young and dreaming about these things.
Oh, yes, it was lovely to be in a comedy. And I haven't done a comedy in the theatre for a very, very long time, so it was heaven.
I have to tell you, it's been one of the happiest jobs I've ever had. It's just been, the material makes going to rehearsals fun, but it's also been a wonderful company, and the two together have made it, for me, as a director, joyful.
You know, it's just a fun, beautiful story, gorgeous nuance, very touching, farce at some points, to the point of almost Noel Coward's. And I thought, this is the right moment, right role, right story, right director, right time.
How's it been appearing on a West End stage? Not that exciting? What do we think of Penelope Wilton and Luke Evans? Are they quite easy to work with? No? How did we prepare for the roles? This is just quite surreal.